everybody, welcome back. And 2026 is here. That means it's time for me to do a my first ever top 10 video. And there's a few that I haven't seen. I don't live in like LA or New York, so I haven't seen like No Other Choice or Surat yet. And so we work with what we have, and I've pretty much seen most things. Over 100 films this year in the theater, so you know, I think we're good. This is going to be like a review of each movie. I'm basically going to list them off. I'm going to tell you what I really, liked about them or loved about them and kind of move on. Some of these movies I do have reviews for if you're interested. Let's get into it. I do have a few honorable mentions, and we got Companion, Fantastic Four, First Steps, Eternity, and The Long Walk. I enjoyed all four of those movies quite a bit. Like I said, just they weren't they weren't just there was just 10 more that or 11 actually that I liked more. Before we get into my official top 10, I'm going to cheat a little bit because it's my list and I can do whatever I want. But my actual number one of the year would technically be Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair. But I feel that's a bit unfair because it's not technically a true 2025 release. And so I just wanted to bring that one up. So it's definitely it's definitely in my top 10. It's just I'm going to leave my top 10 to, 2025 theatrical releases, which means no streaming movies. Same thing with my worst of. It's going to be theatrical only on in the actual top 10. But anyway, let's get to it. Coming in at number 10, we got Begonia. We got Yorgos Lanthimos coming back once again with Emma Stone, who is very good in the movie, and Plemons, who is my personal favorite from that movie. His performance, really stood out for me. And this is just an example of a really good story that keeps you guessing with an ending that will definitely divide you, but it worked for me. And coming in at number 9, we have Magazine Dreams. And this is not going to be on a lot of people's list, if any, probably, given Jonathan Majors' issues. So a lot of people didn't even watch it, which is kind of unfortunate because he easily gives one of the best performances of the year. And you see how this mentally ill, man who's just, you know, obsessed with, becoming the greatest bodybuilder of all time, who wants to be famous and put on the cover of a magazine, the lengths he will go to. And that diner scene solidified this being in my top 10. What a disturbing scene, and one hell of a performance from Majors, regardless of what happened in his personal life. Coming at number 8, here's the complete opposite of Magazine Dreams. This is a great performance, but in a just a feel good, just uplifting story about a down on his luck actor who turns to this company and they just do these random, well, not random, they're paid to do these things, but to bring some hope and some happiness into just regular people's lives, and just seeing that the impact that they have on them, it just made you feel good. And it was just one of those, you know those human stories that you can really connect to with. Again, a great performance from Brendan Fraser, probably my favorite performance from him. And then coming in at number 7, we have Warfare. And what I really liked about this, you have a group of SEALs, and it actually feels real. It feels like a real group of Navy SEALs, like people who were actually in the military. Because that's a pet peeve of mine. If you know me, I tend to nitpick war movies with mannerisms or the uniforms or stuff like that. Because when you were, you know, just like if anybody's watching this who has been in the military, you look at those things, you're like, oh, they would never talk like that. Or just certain things just probably annoy you that the regular person probably wouldn't really pick up on. But what really stood out in this movie was the firefights and the sound design. Um, when you were in the theater, those bullets were whizzing by your head, and you really felt like you were in the middle of it. So it's one of the, easily one of the, top two, action movies of the year, and easily, deserves to be in at least in my top 10. Coming at number 6, we have Sentimental Value, and once again, just a character and story driven, film where you just see a father who is a director who's trying to reconnect with his daughter and kind of like mend that bridge through, a new film that he's doing that's very personal to both of them following the loss of a family member. And this just, I think perfectly showcases the complexity of, relationships between, in this case, a father and a daughter. And that at the end of the day, all you really have is your family, and that should always come first. Starting with the top 5, we have Train Dreams. And this is something that I knew nothing about going into. I just knew that it starred Joel Edgerton. And I didn't know anything about the story. And I didn't know about any other, actors that were in it. So when like William H. Macy came in, Felicity Jones, Carrie Condon, I was like, oh, okay, this is, these are all really good actors. But as the story progressed, you realize that this is a story about, tragedy, grief, in early 1900s Washington, I believe it took place. And it's wonderfully acted, beautifully, shot. I mean, probably some of the best cinematography of the year easily. And it just really is an emotional journey. Coming in at number 4, and this is going to be a hot one for some reason, Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. A lot of people don't really like this movie for some reason. I don't know if it's because they just don't like Springsteen. They don't, for whatever reason, his music. And I know a lot of the complaints that I saw was that it didn't feel big and it didn't cover enough of his career. But the making of his Nebraska album is like famously a very personal, intimate, like emotional, small production of an album. It was just essentially just him for a lot of it. Like he was just recording it at a home in like the bedroom or something. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on Springsteen, but from the little that I know about that album, that's what I gathered. And so for me, I thought it made perfect sense for his or for a movie about the making of the Nebraska album to also be a more smaller production, intimate, personal, story, and where we really just focus on, these, select characters. And I was in it from start to finish. I think the direction's wonderful. I love the aesthetic of the movie. I mean, the time period. Um, I really felt like I was transported back to that time, and I thought Jeremy Allen White, knocked it out as Springsteen. I thought his voice was right there. I mean, so I was won over, almost immediately. And it's out of theaters now, but I would still recommend this, try to at least catch it on streaming or, digital or something, because I really do think it's worth it. And coming at number 3, we have Marty Supreme. For the 4 people that watched my review, not a surprise that this is in my, top 5 even, because I really love Marty Supreme, even with its flaws. But Timothy Chalamet gives easily the best performance of the year, and we once again are able to take relatively despicable characters and have me like almost invested in this story and this journey, even though they're seemingly unlikable, but they're just so interesting, and you can't look away. It's like, it's like a car crash. It's just too much chaos. Given it, even with its flaws, this is easily a top film of the year. And if you haven't seen it, once again, highly recommend go watch it. It's still in theaters, that's definitely the place to watch. It's got a killer score, and just recommend. And then coming in at number 2, we have F1. And what I really love about this movie is that we take a relatively generic story and we elevate it with one, a fantastic cast. I mean, these are all seasoned for the most part, great actors. Even the new guy, Damson Idris, um, was really good. I mean, so the cast overall did a great job, but the standout is clearly Kaczynski's direction and the cinematography. That score from Hans Zimmer, who always delivers. That's not surprising at all. But on a technical level, from the cinematography to the sound design to the score, it is a just a fantastic film, and it's everything a summer blockbuster should be, and it's everything that I would want from a summer blockbuster. And if you're going to watch it at home, I hope you have a great sound system because you're doing yourself a disservice. And then coming in as my number one film of the year is Sinners. Obviously, outside of Kill Bill, this was my favorite theatrical experience of the year. I saw it 2 or 3 times in IMAX because that's just the way you should watch some of these movies. Same thing with like F1. But from Coogler's direction, his cinematography, Michael B. Jordan's performance was also one of the best of the year. To these interesting characters in Delta Blues, Mississippi, Jim Crow era, we take a what could be a generic vampire story that you could argue was borrowed from Dusk Till Dawn. I wouldn't blame you, but he puts his own unique spin on it and just infuses all this all this culture, and not just you know blues culture, but there's Irish culture that's thrown in here too with the vampire, which is my personal favorite scene of the entire movie. But what wins me over is the music. I mean, when you go from the blues and some of those Irish folk songs in the movie as well, this is one of the best soundtracks you know of the year easily. And I've been listening to it ever since this movie came out. And I bought that sucker day one, rewatched it here at home. This is something that I can rewatch over and over. To me, that's the mark of a great film, is the ability to rewatch it and get more from it and to continue to enjoy it, at the same level. But there we go. That's my top 10, favorite films of the year. Go ahead and feel free to drop your top 10 movies in the comments. Go ahead and, leave a like, subscribe. And here's to a hopefully really good year in films for 2026. Plenty to look forward to, and hopefully it beats this year. And as always, take care.